Welcome to the Joyfully Golden podcast. We're excited to share today's episode.
If you've enjoyed any of our episodes, make sure to like it, share it with someone who may also enjoy it, and subscribe to our channel so you can stay up to date with our latest content.
Enjoy today's episode. Hey guys, hope you're having a great day. Joy, how are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm doing really good. It was a busy week, a lot going on, but I'm glad to be here with you guys, and I'm glad to share this moment with you guys for sure.
Absolutely.
So we're going to jump right into the episode, and today, as you might have noticed, we're inside the kitchen. I know you guys might be thinking, oh, are they about to cook, to eat something? Well, you're going to have to wait because that is coming. You know, we're going to do it, but just not today. Today, we're going to be talking about preparation. Yes. That's why we wanted to kind of have the setup of a kitchen, because that's what you do sometime in the kitchen. You prep. So, what are some of your thoughts when you think of the topic overall of preparation and how it applies to our lives?
Absolutely. So for preparation, for me, it's basically everything that you're doing before you're going to do something that's significant, whether it's a presentation at work, a job interview to get a job, maybe a performance, like, you know, in dancing and stuff that you do. You prepare through choreography and stuff to get ready for dance. So preparation is usually, it's repetitive in nature because you're doing something over and over and over again to try and get it as perfect as you can, is what I'm thinking. What about you?
I like that. I mean, I think, you pretty much sum it up. I think that's really good because when I think about preparation, especially coming from the performing background, especially, it's literally that, like doing actions that prepare you for like a performance or I don't know, trying out for something, but doing something, repeating something over and over that makes you ready for something that you're preparing for, something that you're trying to do. And so I think because of that, I feel like preparation is something that we probably should talk about a lot more than we do, I think, in our lives. Because when you think about it, I feel like a lot of life is the preparation, because like whether it's like interviews or whether it's, I don't know, like asking someone out, or literally like everything is like, oh, I'm going to prepare to do this. I'm going to prepare to achieve this. I'm going to prepare, I don't know, for this test. Like it goes on and on and on. But I feel like there's a lot of moments in life in which we mainly spend a lot of time preparing for moments, because a lot of life is not just moment after moment after moment, but I feel like it's mostly preparation, moment, and then preparation, moment. So I think I'm excited for today because I hope, we can really dive into the preparation and because it's so important, hopefully, be able to share some tips on how to make that space and that time and season called preparation as effective as possible into our lives. So I guess I'll ask you from the get-go, what is one area of your life where you feel like you currently have to exercise that virtue or thing, called preparation in a specific area?
Well, I think like one that people probably don't really think a lot about is my actual day. Preparing for the day. I mean, everything you're really doing, it's like, hey, have a great day, It's like, okay, but how are you preparing for that day? And it's like you could start preparing for the day, the week, the month, whatever, before the day even gets here, like the night before, with what time are you going to bed, what time are you getting up in the morning, what are you eating before you go to bed, what are you eating before when you wake up, and it's this idea that that's going to set up your entire day based on how well you slept the night before and how you start off. If you wake up on the wrong side of the bed, you're in a rush, or you're late to work, or you were out last night partying and now you don't feel that great the next morning. It's like, what kind of day are you preparing to have? So it's kind of, that's like my big one, is just daily preparation for what kind of day am I going to have.
Oof, that's so
because good. Over time, that becomes your lifestyle, that influences your attitude, your behavior, your aspirations, things like that.
So good.
What about you?
So in my life, I mean, we were talking about it a little earlier, like how like the performing arts and component. I perform a lot, whether it's with dancing, whether it's even executing a film too, as a screenwriter. Like I feel like, I mean, literally, like rehearsing with the actors and everything. So I think in a lot of different aspects of my life, actually, repetition is something that I have to have, I have to pay attention to. So I will not talk about those because that's already obvious. But I think I'm going to talk about something maybe a little less obvious, which I think is my relationship with people. I think that I do a lot of preparation to be the kind of friend that I aspire to be, and that I hope too that I get to attract, towards me, because I want to be the kind of friend who when someone is going through something hard and they share with me, I want to be able to not just be a good listener, but be able to offer something that does help, be able to offer some kind of advice, guidance, whatever, or even just be there and just be a friend. I want to be the kind of friend that can be reliable, that your friends know, like Joy, he's got all this going on, but if I ask him about this, like he's gonna come through, because and because there's all these different virtues that I want to use, and not just as a friend. Like I want to be a certain kind of husband, I want to be a certain kind of, I don't know, like of son to my parents, of sibling to my siblings,
dad someday,
so, of dad someday, yeah, exactly, yeah. And so because of all those things, I feel like I have to spend a lot of time cultivating those little things, and to me, I feel like that's repetition, because I have to cultivate those thoughts. I have to listen to things that feed those thoughts, and I have to hang out with people who reinforce those virtues. I have to read things that inform me on how to develop those virtues, and on and on. And I feel like it helps me engage in this process of literally becoming the person that I want to be in relationship with, right. and hopefully that makes me someone of value to the people that in my life, and also it helps me attract people that are like that too. So I think that's one area that we don't necessarily think about in terms of like, I'm doing repetition for this, or preparation for this, but I feel like that's one area in which I personally spend a lot of preparing, just because that's an area that matters a lot to me, like relationships. Oh, you were going to say something?
So it almost is kind of like, I was just waiting for you to finish. But, so preparation really then does matter. It matters because if you don't prepare for things, well, then you're kind of just leaving it to chance, or just hoping things are going to go well. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like, has there been an instance in your life where you really you thought, I'm just going to wing this, and there was no preparation, and then maybe looking back, you're like, well, if I had, maybe put a little bit of effort, any good stories?
Yeah, there is one that comes straight back, because, this is embarrassing. And it might not sound as bad, but hopefully I can portray how sad it was for me in that moment. So, I'm in college, I think sophomore year maybe, freshman or sophomore year for sure. And I was in an oral communication class. And I think that was one of the first classes in which I really started realizing that I was a good public speaker. Like, because I don't think until then, I had spoken in front of people a little bit, but no one, first of all, in the field had told me, hey, you have something. You really are good at this thing. You should focus on it. And my teacher did that for me. She was like, you are an outstanding speaker. You really need to work on this and cultivate it. So, long story short, I was one of the best in that class. Obviously, the teacher was amazing. I loved it. I realized that I had an inkling for it, so I just dove right in. Speech after speech, I was crushing it. My friends were giving me crazy reviews. It literally got to the point where I was we'll all give speeches one at a time, and then when it's my turn to get up, people will literally start me, here comes Joy, he's about to crush it. I was okay, I felt it. And then came this one day. I think we're supposed to do an informative speech or something like that, and I think it was a mixture of I had been doing way too many things that week, so I did not prepare for it, and a mixture of believing that I was so good that I didn't need to prepare for it. So in my head, I was just every time it came up, I was I'll be okay. I'm good. I'm going to crush it. Brother, I showed up, and I was fine to the whole class. People were going, and the whole time I was how are you going to be fine? Just improvise. As I was walking up, I got up in front of the class and opened my mouth, and I froze hard. I cannot tell you what I talked about. That's how random it was. I was rambling, I was pausing, I started sweating and there was that moment when you see in the looks of people, they're just what happened to Joy? What is going on? And then I was just oh no, there is no escaping this moment. I'm in it, and it was the worst speech I have ever given by far. And at the end, the teacher didn't even talk to me at the end. She was that disappointed. It was because I was expecting at the end her being Joe, at the end, she just looked at me and just walked out. She was that disappointed.
Wow.
And I think that was a perfect example of just I mean, what happened when you failed to prepare? But also, I think it adds a little nugget of wisdom. Like, when you fail to prepare, even in the things you think you're good enough at already. Because I think that's one thing. I mean, definitely got me there. But I feel like a lot of people get into that, right? You know, I'm good at this. Oh, I got this. You know, I've done this 1,000 times. I don't need to invest the time and effort anymore to prepare myself to be good at it. I think that's a trap. Because
failing to plan is planning to fail.
Let's go. Yeah, exactly. Yes, like once you get to the spot where you think you know too much, or you're too good, or you've just made it, you never, that's when you start falling. You know, it's kind of like the saying of like, you know, like how does it go? It's I think like being boastful precedes the fall, like something like that. It's like the minute you get there in your mind, game over, because you stop preparing, and that's it. You stop moving forward, you stop growing, you stop excelling in life, you know. And that I learned that lesson hard, you know, and I think I just carried it moving forward. Yeah, that's the part. That's
well, thank you for sharing.
Of course, yeah. And I guess I wanted to ask another question, kind of like just revolving on the same thing. What are some things, in your opinion and in your experience, you know, having had to prepare for different things, that you think should be involved in the preparation process? To help it be more successful, or to help it be more worth it.
So I have a really great tool. It's an acronym, and I learned this in National Youth Leadership Training.
Let's go.
And it's cool because when I learned this at 14, they're teaching it in one of our supervisor classes as an adult, you know, 12 years later. And I'm like, I learned this a long time ago, or 14 years later. But SMART goals. Setting SMART goals. And SMART stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely.
Dropping the wisdom, guys.
When you prepare, you've got to set goals. You have to be specific. What are you preparing for? You have to measure it. How long is this going to take you to do?
Wow.
Is it attainable? Like if I said, all right, I'm going to go next week, I'm going to go tap dance and do a performance. I'm going to do a piano recital. I don't know how to play the piano. So that's not something attainable, which is the third part, by the end of next week.
Wow.
Is it relevant to what you're trying to do? If you're like, I want to prepare, say for a job interview. So I'm going to practice writing reports, but the job interviews for something that has nothing to do with reports. Is your goal relevant to what you're preparing for?
So good.
And then timely, are you giving yourself enough time to succeed?
So good.
Because it'd be like, all right, the wedding is next weekend, and it's Thursday, and I've got 2 days, and I'm going to lose 20 pounds so I can fit in this suit, right? It's like, that's not timely to achieve a goal. So when you have a good plan, when you prepare, that sets yourself up for success. And that's what's helped me with a lot of different things, with finishing school, with promoting, buying this house, was having SMART goals guide me along the way.
Wow. Mic drop, guys. Episode over. We could just end it right here, and that would be amazing. I mean, thank you for sharing that. That was really good.
Absolutely.
So I guess, I mean, on the flip side of that, because that was gold. Honestly, if you only watch that section of the episode, you're good. Go do your homework. Now you know what to do. But I guess let's also observe the flip side, because I love to show the goods and also the dark. So I guess what are some things you think we should avoid while we're in that process of preparing or involved in preparation? What are something you think we should avoid or let go of that literally either make the process void or literally hurt us, to actually be successful in that process?
So things that's like I'm the SMART goals is things that have helped me. Now, I'm not perfect with it, but challenges that I know that I have, the things that I have to avoid because they've been a detriment to me in the past, and some of them still a little bit are, procrastination, thinking that you have all the time you need to get something done. Because if your whole goal and the only thing you're doing for the day is just one singular thing and nothing else is happening or gets in your way, then you have all day to do it, right? Or all week to do it, as long as you get it done by Friday. But life isn't just one single thing at a time. There's all these different things. There's your relationships, there's your social life, your health, taking time to eat. If you're at work, it's different things that you have to do for work. Like me, like helping if my staff has a question or I need to go to a meeting or get something done. It's like I got to make sure I get stuff planned out and do things ahead of time and not wait till the last minute to get things done, because I may technically still have the time in that day, but then all of a sudden my day gets filled with the day's expectations. So you need to avoid thinking that the day is not going to bring with it things that you're going to have to deal with. So that's one thing.
So good.
Another thing, if you know what your faults are, you got to be aware of them. Like if you know that if you pick up your phone, it's going to be 2 hours later and you've gone through Facebook and YouTube videos and you're like, oh, there goes my 2 hours. Put your phone away. Avoid staying up late. Because that's another thing. When you're tired, being tired, I say, would be worse than being hungry or dehydrated or anything when it comes to trying to get something done. When you have a lack of sleep, it throws off everything else. Because usually when you're tired, you probably won't eat the next day correctly, which will give you low energy, which will just make it more of a challenge. So you've got to focus on, setting goals. So things to avoid is what you asked. So avoid procrastinating, which I still struggle with at times, but it's...
We all do.
Yeah, but it's like a thing to know. It's like, okay, so when you do it correctly, then reward yourself and try and keep focusing on that behavior. Nice. And then make sure you get sleep. Those would be the two things. Avoid staying up too late.
That's so good.
So I want to ask you now, in what ways have you learned to be a better preparer for life, for things that you've done? What is something that either you learned or somebody taught you to where now you use it as a habit for your preparation?
I like that. Well, there's something that we say, like one of the first things that came, there's something we say, because I'm a part of a band as well, Via Music, shameless plug. And there is a sentence. Well, I'm pretty sure we're not the only one who use it. I'm sure like people in the performing world use it all the time. But it's practice as you play, and it's pretty much this idea that if you put 100% during practice, if you practice having fun, if you practice not looking at your music and looking ahead, if you practice like you will be able to do the exact same thing when it's the moment of actually performing and when it's live and stuff like that. And so I feel like in the same exact way, like, if the practice as you play applies to that, I feel like it's the same in life. I mean, for my example earlier, for example, of being a friend, like if I put as much effort into the preparation process as the amount of effort that I actually will put when I'm with a friend or when I'm actually dealing in a position, I will be able to translate both. But if in the process I'm just like, I'm just going to go halfway with it, I'm just going to read a little bit, maybe not, I'm just going to kind of think about it, then that's going to translate into the kind of performance, quote unquote, that I will have later on. So I think the practice as you play, I mean, it really applies to all the different layers, the concept of with how much fervor and how much intensity and determination you engage into preparing for things and how much seriousness you put into it, it's going to translate directly into the result and into the person that you are, into that thing that you're preparing for when it comes. Because if you fall into the trap of thinking, I can just prepare like 30% amount of effort, and then when the time comes to do whatever that thing is, it's going to be 100%. I mean, it's kind of like this example we keep going back to of the interview. If you're preparing for an interview and you think, I'm just going to kind of read about it, kind of prepare about it, and you prepare for it at 20%, let's say, and expect the day of the interview to just shine and perform at 120%. I mean, you're going to fall on your face. I mean, you're going to embarrass yourself, at best. And so I think that's something we need to think about in our day-to-day life, honestly, as we engage into preparing. Like, it really be honest with yourself. Like, how much effort am I putting into this? How much do I believe in this? How much really am I willing to put into this process? Because it's directly going to translate into the actual outcome of it. So I think that's probably one of the big nuggets that I got that dictate my preparation process, for sure.
Love it.
Yeah. So, sorry, you're gonna say. I feel like I keep. I'm sorry.
I was ready, and go ahead.
No, go
okay.
right.
I was just saying. So, like, kind of in summary, as we kind of wrap this thing up today, I like the topic of preparation. I think like the kitchen is kind of appropriate because if you think about it, We will have a food episode in the future.
Oh, I'm excited for that.
Now it's just like a tease, you know? But when you're preparing a meal, you don't just you have to prepare the ingredients, right? If you want an outcome desired, or when you have to cook something, you don't, if it takes 40 minutes to bake something, you're not going to bake it for 20 minutes, be like, it's good enough. It's not going to be good enough. So when you know that there's something you want to do, you need to make sure you know what's required to do that.
Wow.
Because on your end, it may come easy to you, or you may have already developed a skill set to be able to, challenge that aspect or task or preparation head on. And if there's areas where it's like you don't know, well, like we follow the instructions whenever you're making, a new recipe.
Yeah.
Somebody already knows how to do pretty much 99.9999% of anything anyone else is doing. So you can look for clues and tips for successes that'll help you prepare yourself without having to reinvent the wheel.
Wow.
So that way you get your finished product or you're happy with your performance because you took the time to make sure you're doing it the right way.
So that's crazy because it ties in almost directly into what I was going to say. Because one of the things I was going to say is another component of preparation is to have the right ingredient to prepare for whatever you're trying to prepare for. So it literally ties in. Nice. But I just wanted to kind of give a thought too of understanding, because in the same way that the energy translates, 100%, in the same way, whatever ingredients you put into the preparation is going to determine the final meal that you have. For example, if you're trying to bake a cake, but you use cement, you're not gonna have a cake. I don't know why you're gonna have.
You can eat.
Exactly, but it's not gonna be a cake. It's gonna be something weird and dangerous and toxic. So in the same way, you need to identify the end goal that you're actually preparing for. Like for example, I keep going back to that. Like me trying to be a good friend or a good husband, all those things. I have to identify first what are the ingredients I need to be able to do that. I need to be trustworthy. I need integrity. I need discipline. I need, all those different things. And so then I'm like, okay, those are the components that I need to work on. And it gives you a clear understanding of the ingredients that you need for the meal that you're trying to prepare, And so I feel like whatever it is that you need to be preparing for, whether it's your day-to-day or something bigger, more specific, think about that. Really, consider it. Okay, what are the elements, the different components that I need to actually contribute to this? Because then, kind of going back to the SMART goal, you will be investing time and effort actually preparing for what you want, and not thinking you are, and then ending with a cement cake, something weird like that. So so that's just the last thing I want to add. But it ties perfectly to what you said.
Great minds think alike.
Exactly.
Awesome. Great. Well, we hope you had a great time watching this episode. We certainly did, making this episode for all of you. With preparation, just take it one step at a time. Try the SMART goals. Let us know how that works out for you. And as always, we hope you have a joyfully golden week. And until then, we'll see you in the next episode.
Yeah, take care.